What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
another day at the office, I get to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
What is going on, friends? Welcome into this episode of Sports from the Couch. I'm your host, Mike Mercado, and I want to thank you so much for making us a part of your day. On this week's episode, we review Week 7 of the NFL and preview Week 8. We also break down the big fight between the Lakers and the Rockets and the fallout that came from it. We have an interview with Paul Chivari about everything that is the MLB playoffs, including our World Series matchup, and we break down that Bears-Patriots game. So stick around. We have a jam-packed show for you today. You can follow me on Twitter at mmercado2333. I'm on Instagram at MikeMercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. Like, rate, review, and share us anywhere we get your favorite podcasts at Mercado Airwaves. It means the world to us. If you would like to get our interviews ad-free and before anybody else with celebrities and athletes, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. And a huge thank you to Munch Art Design for powering us here at the Mercado Airwaves Network. We have a lot to get to here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the office, I get to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
So before we get into the Bears and Patriots fallout that came from Soldier Field, because I have a couple thoughts I want to get into, why don't we take a quick look at the week that was in the NFL for Week 7. It started off on Thursday as the Broncos beat the Cardinals 45-10, and the Cardinals are in football hell right now, right along with the Oakland Raiders, who made a trade to the Dallas Cowboys for Amari Cooper. So interesting stuff. We'll get to both those teams' results in just a little bit. Titans fall to the Chargers 20-19. Chargers starting to gain some momentum. We'll see how that ends up with a tough division with the Kansas City Chiefs right there. Panthers over the Eagles 21-17. Vikings over the Jets 37-17. Bills lose to the Colts 37-5 in stomping in. Between the Bills and the Cardinals, there's a couple of other teams where you're just wondering who the hell is the bottom feeders of the NFL. And the Bears fall to the Patriots 31-38. We'll get to all that in just a little bit. Buccaneers over the Browns 26-23. It was the Texans 20 over the Jaguars 7. Lions beat the Dolphins 32-21. It was the Saints over the Ravens 24-23. The Cowboys fall to Washington 20-17. It was the Rams 39, San Francisco 10. The Bengals lose on Sunday night 45-10 to the Kansas City Chiefs. And on Monday night, it was the Atlanta Falcons 23, the New York Giants 20. So the one thing I want to get into right away is the Bears and Patriots matchup. And there's just a few things I want to hit on. Obviously, you guys have heard already kind of, we all have our mindset when it comes to Mitchell Trubisky. We do. There's a lot of people who want to set themselves in camps already because whether you're listening to 670 The Score or ESPN 1000 here in the city of Chicago, or you're listening to the national people like Dan Patrick, Colin Cowherd, everything on ESPN with First Take and Undisputed, so on and so forth. Wake Up, the AM show on NFL Network. There's people wanting to set themselves in camps, and you don't see that with a lot of different quarterbacks in the NFL. You don't hear people pronouncing Sam Darnold this or Josh Rosen that or people were ready to call Jared Goff a bust, but he was the number 1 overall draft pick. So, and that's the thing. I've even said it. The biggest detriment to Trubisky is the fact that he was the 2nd overall draft pick. The Bears moved up to get him, and he was in a draft class of Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. And we're seeing what Mahomes is doing in Kansas City, absolutely tearing it up. But I have the question. Wouldn't Mahomes have done this with John Fox last year? I mean, we saw how that experiment went. But there are complaints to have about Trubisky. I mean, you can't have what he had this past week with the Patriots. Can't do it with the interceptions. Easily, he could have had 4 to 5 interceptions. That is staggering. And the fact, here's the thing. This is why numbers are deceiving, and you could spin sports in so many different ways, right? 38-31. A Hail Mary play goes two yards deeper, and the Bears are tied in this game after that play that Kevin White made. But fact is that game never felt close. That game never felt like the Bears were in it. There's a certain feeling you get where when a team doesn't go away, they're going to make you pay for it. At no point did you feel that the Bears were going to come out and sneak one away from the Patriots. Mind you, this was a Patriots team that isn't full Patriots right now. It doesn't have its mojo. Obviously, you've seen it. They didn't even have Gronk. Now, to the Bears' point, Khalil Mack was hurt. And they have him dropping back so much on coverage, on defense when, he's a pass rusher. That's what he does. He goes after the quarterback. And the argument is with Khalil Mack, if he's not able to get to the quarterback and he's not a prolific coverage linebacker, what's he on the field for? You need to have better options. And that's the thing about this Bears team that a lot of us were on paper, when you're just playing Madden, yeah, the starting lineup looks good, right? When you see the full 22, yeah, you like what the Bears do when the game starts. The problem is when you don't have Allen Robinson or Khalil Mack on the other side is hurt, the depth ends there. There is no next man up. This isn't like a lot of different organizations right now where the pool of talent is just coming and coming and coming, and they can overcome it like the Eagles did last year, especially at quarterback. But Khalil Mack being hurt, it devastates this team. I mean, there's a point when you think 31 points should be able to win a game for the Chicago Bears. Historically, that's not the case right now. Their run game is totally absent. And that becomes a question of whether or not it's talent or if it's scheme. I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, Matt Nagy has done a great job of finding the openings for these receivers and to get Trubisky to get the ball over. Now, my biggest thing from this game is how inaccurate Mitchell is. And the problem with that is he was renowned for that. That was what he was leaning on. And instead we're seeing him run with his legs. It seems like the cat can, what was it? 6 carries, 81 yards and a touchdown. But you have Jordan Howard, only 12 carries, 39 yards. Averaging only 3 yards per carry, just about. Tariq Cohen, awesome specialist when it comes to being able to use him as a running back that catches the ball. But this isn't like Kareem Hunt. I think not only is it a scheme thing, but Jordan Howard's a talented running back, but he's not an elite running back. And that's not a detriment to him. How many elite running backs are there in the NFL right now? 3, maybe 4, and one that's not playing right now? I mean, there's a lot of things that go into this, and if the offense isn't going into that direction, you have to do one of 2 things: move forward or involve him. Now, if it's up to me, you have a 2-headed monster between Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. You need to be using them. You've found a way to exploit Trey Burden to a lot of these guys, a lot of these defenses. What is that? 7 receptions? Yes, 9 receptions for 126 yards. But look at this. Tariq Cohen, target, has 8 receptions. Can't have that, though, when the rest of your receivers, Taylor Gabriel, only 3 receptions. Anthony Miller, only 2. Why Josh Bellamy all over the field, too, by the way. This is a big narrative, and it happens because Allen Robinson's hurt, but they don't have depth, and they need more talent. They need more explosive talent. That's the fact of this. And then the fact remains, you could see the difference between the Bears and the Patriots. You just can. You can see what it's like when a team has won before and it's in it and just knows how to overcome its own issues. This Bears team is not there yet. But it's like anything else in the NFL. It's so razor thin. If Trubisky hits on a few more plays, it's a different ballgame. But just as easily, 2 or 3 passes and it's a worse game. We're calling for his head. We're calling him a bust. We're just in a weird spot in the NFL right now because everybody has a quarterback, but only a few teams have a real quarterback that they can rely on, that you know what you're going to get. And even then, there's no guarantees. Not in this league right now. So we'll see. We'll see how they regroup. That bye week did not come in a good time for that Bears team. So early in the season, they need it now. They need it now with these injuries, with the fact that they're not clicking. So why don't we take a look for Week 8? I want to hear your thoughts, though. Please tweet us at mmercado2333 or follow me on Instagram at MikeMercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Mercado Airwaves Network. Download us, like, rate, review, and share us anywhere you get your favorite podcasts at Mercado Airwaves. So Week 8, we have opening up on Thursday night. It is the Miami Dolphins and Houston, Texas. Then we have the Eagles and the Jaguars. Both teams desperately need a win over the pond in the United Kingdom. It is the Ravens and the Panthers. Broncos take on the Chiefs. It is Browns, Steelers, Seahawks, Lions, Buccaneers, Bengals. It's the Jets and the Bears. It is Washington versus the Giants, Colts and the Raiders, 49ers, Arizona. The Green Bay Packers take on the LA Rams in a heavyweight matchup. It is the New Orleans Saints versus the Minnesota Vikings in another heavyweight matchup on Sunday Night Football. And on Monday night, it is the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. Oh my God. Please somebody give the lights rights to those Buffalo Bills. Watch, that's a trap game on Monday night, and somehow they pull something over Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. I mean, you can't tell in this league. But I mean, Sunday Night Football, Saints, Vikings. I mean, that a lot of people think that's another potential NFC championship game again. And then Packers, Rams, another potential NFC championship game. Bears, Jets for all you around here locally. That's a huge game. The Bears need to win this one. Need to get over 500. It's a beatable team. Bilal Powell's probably not going to play with the neck injury. They don't have Quincy Enunwa. So I would think with a rookie quarterback as well, the Bears should be able to beat the Jets. But again, there's no guarantee. And Eagles Jaguars, this is a game where both teams need to win. They're both coming off of losses, and I don't know. Here's the thing. This is why it's so important, just like in any other sport, where if you're gonna make a deep run, you gotta cash in. So the fact that the Eagles won a Super Bowl with their backup quarterback is unreal. But Jacksonville dropping that game to the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game is devastating to that franchise because you just never know if you're going to get to that level again. But as always, the NFL is on fire. So many stories. But we also had some big news drop in the National Basketball Association, my favorite league. It is the NBA, and of course, it was the fallout of the Rockets-Lakers incident. We get to that next here on the Mercado Airways Network, Sports from the Couch. I'm Mike Mercado.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing,
How
buddy?
you, sir? I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on.
Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
We are only a few games into the NBA season, and already it has given us so many things to talk about. So before we get to the United Center, why don't we talk about the biggest news, which was that Lakers-Rockets fights between Rajon Rondo and Chris Paul. So here, my basic opinion is this. You obviously know, and any of us who follow the league and love the little dirt that happens between some of these players, we all realize that there's some sort of beef between these two guys since the Olympic days. So let's just say Rondo was in the wrong anyway. And Chris Paul is known a lot for being, they're both kind of really known for being kind of prickly and being really competitive. And you can see how that they get into it, a lot of different guys in the league. But what I find interesting is just the heat that this league has already, and just for anybody who hadn't caught up between it, the suspensions are in. Ingram, who did throw a punch, is suspended for 4 games. He got the longest suspension. Rajon got suspended for 3 games, and Chris Paul gets a 2-game suspension. So, the NBA is dealing out a little bit of justice, and I don't think it's it's a fair suspension because obviously it's not good for the league. These two teams are going to be in a lot of primetime games. Let's call a spade. There's a lot of uncomfortable consumers who ingest the product, who buy a lot of stuff. They don't want to see big, giant men fighting in the court. It's not a good look for the league, and that's something the league has had to fight. It's nonsense. It's BS the league has had to fight for so long because we see it in so many sports. We lament it. We think it's amazing when it's in baseball, when bench is clear, or when in football, it's fire and passion. But in the NBA, they're thugs if they do it like that. So it's garbage. So you don't want to see it. But at the same time, you're not overreacting. You're not throwing the book at these guys. It's a heated game. It's competitive guys, and on top of it, it's respected guys around the league. So I'm cool with it. I think it's great. And quite frankly, I want to see the best of the best play in this league because this is what the league is. This is why it's amazing. Think about it. NBA is so much fun to cover because it's a star-driven league. We talked about it last week. And when the stars are performing and when they're showcasing, think about what's going on right now. You have Steph Curry averaging like 30 points a game. Westbrook coming back finally. LaVine, of all people, Zach LaVine has been somebody who I'm not the biggest fan of when it comes to that trade, or at least putting him in the pedestal of top 15. But he's balling out right now on a bad team, mind you. And we'll get to the Bulls in just a little bit. But Kemba Walker, Giannis. I mean, this league has so obviously LeBron in LA, which he's going to have to carry that team. Oh my goodness, is he going to have to carry that team? But that incident, I think it gets so overblown. I mean, yeah, it's polarizing because it's the Lakers. It's two big teams. It happens to be two famous players, so I get why it makes mainstream news. But I don't think people should be overplaying this thing like a lot of people want to. But it's a great narrative because the league is competitive. I mean, you're seeing in the Eastern Conference, the Raptors and the Bucks all undefeated very early in the season. But I'm liking what I see in a lot of these. Is Boston 2-2, so I want to see how they kind of mesh together now that everybody's supposedly healthy. They have a lot of stars in that team, and the league will even itself out. It will get to a point where you see where the differences are, and I made my predictions last week, but I think the Hornets are going to be a little bit better than I thought they were going to be. But I don't necessarily think they're going to be world beaters, but Philadelphia looks like they're going to be the truth. So I'm excited to see how they develop over the year. The Western Conference is nothing but juggernauts as well. And if somehow either the Nuggets or the Pelicans are for real, they stay healthy, that's some more dangerous weapons. I love how this league is right now. But to the contrary of loving this league, what's wrong with this league of no defense and high-octane offense, a lot of shots, a lot of sloppy ball sometimes, it's kind of the definition of this Bulls team. This Bulls team has issues. First of all, now with Jabari Parker not finishing off that game a few nights ago, you realize that they're not going to have defensive stoppers. This team does not have that. I'm really excited to see what happens when Marketing comes back, but the fact remains this team is going to lose a lot more games than a lot of us thought. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be fun to watch, but they're the total definition of a roller coaster. They got a lot of young talent, though, and they are only a move here or there away from really making some noise. But as of right now, the league between Cleveland and Chicago and the Knicks, and there's a few teams where you realize okay, yeah, you can kind of see that they're all going to be down there. I think the Bulls are just going to so happen to be the most entertaining of the bad teams. But we'll see what happens when Marketing comes back. Chris Dunn's going to come back, came back. So there's a lot of stuff that I want to get into about the NBA, but some fun times, and like always, we're covering here Sports from the Couch here on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado. We got a lot to get to still. Paul Chivari joins us next here on Sports from the Couch on Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, Mike Mercado2333.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing, buddy? Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
We are all set up for a fall classic in the true sense, as the LA Dodgers representing the National League and the Boston Red Sox representing the American League in the 2018 World Series. And joining us today is friend of the show, my good buddy Paul Chivari, MLB correspondent from Mercado Airwaves and Sports from the Couch. Can't believe we finally got to this point, Paul. It is time we
it almost seems like it was a foregone conclusion a few months ago that this was the World Series, but hindsight being 2020, there was a lot of points where we didn't know whether the Dodgers were going to be in the playoffs, let alone in the World Series. The Red Sox have always been the best team in baseball. We didn't know if they can maintain it in the playoffs, but here we are, buddy. How you doing, and how you looking forward to this the Fall Classic really coming together finally?
Well, it's the World Series is coming up, so you know I'm doing great. And yeah, I think we're going to get the matchup we were hoping for this season. I think these are the best two teams that could have represented their respective leagues. And I mean, Red Sox Dodgers. When was the last time we could ever say that that's ever happened? So it's going to be exciting, and it's a little different that the Dodgers are a team nowadays that have the long World Series drought, and the Red Sox are a team that are looking for their fourth one in the span of, 14 years. So it's going to be good. I'm excited.
And we know that the first time and last time this happened was in 1916, and a certain guy named Babe Ruth was playing in that game. But here we are, and there's a lot of stars to be had in this series. Obviously, Mookie Betts, Clayton Kershaw, the list goes on and on. You know, if you're listening to this show from Sports from the Couch with Paul Chivari as our guest today, you know exactly who's playing in this game. But you know what? It's funny because you and I were talking about this a few episodes back, and the one thing I mentioned is how it just seems like baseball missed its chance with a lot of potential series because of teams bowing out in the one-game playoff or getting eliminated in the NLDS or ALDS. But it seems like it kind of worked itself out at this point, right?
I think so. I mean, I think it would have been just as interesting if Milwaukee would have gotten in, but I think the Dodgers were the better team. I think they proved it in that series. They withstood the 7 games, and they've been there before. They're going back 2 straight years, and it was kind of I think I was saying it last week on the show where look at how the Dodgers have kind of progressed season to season. Naturally, the next logical step for them is to win this thing, right. And they have an opportunity to do it. And, you were saying at the top of the show here that they was looking like for a part of the season that they just weren't going to do it, and they were in a really competitive NL West, but they prevailed. They ended up winning on the last game against Colorado to get into the series, and they played a team in the Braves that are younger and weren't expected to be there, and then they played a Brewers team that I don't want to say that the Brewers overachieved, but I think the Brewers just weren't ready. They didn't have they weren't battle tested like the Dodgers have been. That's a testament to the type of team that this Dodgers team is that, maybe the numbers don't look pretty, maybe they didn't dominate in certain games, but they lasted. They outlasted the Brewers, and they deserve it, and they're going to be there. Now they face a Boston team that I think they match up really well against.
And I think that's what I wanted to get into was with these matchups. Did you think that the Dodgers were the better team going into that Brewers series? You and I talked about it, and it's easy one thing to always, again, we could go back and make fun of who we picked and how we don't egg in our face, but let's really break this down at this point now heading into the World Series. Who do you think is the more talented team right now in the Dodgers and the Red Sox?
See, okay, and that's hard for me. I went through it and I tried to match it up, position by position, and kind of how things were going. And both have explosive lineups, and both have some amazing starting pitchers, and both have bullpens that did tremendous things.
Let's put your feet to the fire on this instance then. Let's do this old school sports channel style. Let's break it down. Pitching, who do you give the advantage to? Dodgers, Red Sox?
Starting pitching, I went Dodgers on that one. I think just because we don't know Chris Sale's health, and we don't know how that belly button ring is.
Well, okay. You know what? I take it back. Before we move on to the next one, how crazy is that story about the belly button ring?
I don't buy it for a second,
what can
Mike.
It be then?
I think here's what I think happened. This is me just totally speculating. Chris Sale is hurt. He's hurt really bad. His shoulder has been bothering him, and that was the disabled stint. I thought I heard something about his knee possibly bothering him. He is playing in pain. That is a known fact. He is playing in pain. I'm assuming he's taking some sort of painkillers, anti-inflammatories, something to relieve that pain during his starts. I mean, he's been effective when he has been out there, with the exception of maybe a few moments. But Chris Sale has been maybe not the Chris Sale we've seen in the past, but he's still an effective pitcher, and he's playing in pain right now. I think he took something and it disagreed with him, and he didn't want to make a story out of it, so the story that he was going with was the belly button ring.
Chris Sale's a weird cat.
I don't know if that's anything, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I have no experience whatsoever in jewelry on the navel, but I think that wouldn't be something that he didn't be in the hospital and miss a team flight for. I think it's something bigger that they want to maybe not make an issue out of. I don't think it's a cover-up. I don't think it's anything devious or, anything that controversial, anything like that. I just think they didn't want to reveal what the true secret was and maybe make a story out of something that's not a story to distract from what maybe the reality is. And I think it's something where his body reacted to some sort of medication that he received, and he's going to end up taking that medication again, and we'll see how effective he is in the playoffs and how that puts him down. But I think ideally the Red Sox want him to go in Game 1, which he's scheduled for, maybe Game 4 or Game 5, and then somewhere in Game 7, whether he's a starter or comes in relief to go against some of the left-handed hitters in the LA lineup, or just do the Chris Sale thing that he does. But let's take away from the Chris Sale story for a moment and look at the fact that for baseball fans, I think we're really getting the optimum Game 1. This is the stuff you talk about. The history of the game. When you look back, the World Series in 2018, it was the Dodgers and Red Sox. So there had to have been Clayton Kershaw and Chris Sale, and of course there was, and of course they're going to face each other in Game 1. And I think that's what baseball needed was a start like this. Two aces going on the mound against each other. Two lefties, are arguably the best lefties in their respective league. I can't think of a better lefty AL pitcher and a better lefty NL pitcher, and we're going to get to see that in Game 1, and I think that's going to really set the tone for the series.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
another day at the office, I get to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on.
Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support. I think we're going to have to definitely break it down by maybe during the winter meetings and whatnot, how over the last few years the World Series has delivered in a lot of interesting matchups. Last year with the Astros and the Dodgers, the year before that with Cubs, Indians, and then this year with Dodgers, Red Sox. There's been a lot of fun matchups, a lot of historic matchups, a lot of matchups 50, 60 years from now. We'll be like, do you remember when this team played this team and how this broke down? But the ratings aren't there, and you and I will break it down. We watch all different types of sports. We cover it. We're in the media. But I have a lot of thoughts of why that is, but I think baseball got the best possible matchup, all things being considered, all craziness being put into account with it. But I think it's really funny that Chris Sale is going to play in a World Series game, and that's been one of the things that has lingered over him. There's not many players in baseball that we linger on whether or not they won a championship. And he is one of those players because he's one of the first players to get one of those big contracts to be part of the big moves of a restarting team to a team that's trying to win now. And we're going to talk all about that as we break down the Cubs and White Sox season once the World Series is over. But speaking of Chris Sale and pitching, you're giving the advantage to the Red Sox. And it's going to be interesting, like you said, a historic Game 1 matchup. But hitting, both teams could put it on the board. We've seen a shout-out to Hawk on that one. Both teams can do that. Who are you giving the advantage when it comes to with the bats?
With home runs, at least. I think with the power, you got to favor the Dodgers in that regard. Just because of the pop that you saw out of people's bats at various points in that series. You know, Turner got a big home run in Game 2. Puig gets that 3-run homer in Game 7. I want to say Muncy might have went yard in that series. Bellinger had a big home run in that series. So there's definitely pop in that LA lineup. And, Boston has it too. I mean, Jackie Bradley with, a couple of home runs in that series against Houston and the 9 RBIs that he ends up getting, he's not really known as a home run hitter. And I think you can't rely on that versus a team, like LA. I'm not even mentioning Manny Machado, another guy that carries power as well, too. That Dodgers team is stacked when it comes to the long ball, and that's a big thing. As far as hitting goes, though, we can't rule out the fact that the Red Sox is a great hitting team as well. Of course, there's Mookie Betts. Of course, Jackie Bradley Jr. with just a 200 batting average, getting the 9 RBIs. He got key hits at key moments, capable of that type of power. J.D. Martinez, of course. It goes without saying how great of a player J.D. Martinez is. So, I mean, Boston has some pop in that lineup. Plus, they can throw out Andrew Benintendi every game. They got Betts and Bradley on the outfield with them. Whether they go Bogarts, Devers, Holt, I don't know if Moreland is going to be healthy enough for the series. And he hasn't really had a chance to feature his thing, but he can hit home runs. They've got guys that have pop in that Boston lineup. But when I think of the home runs, I'm going to think Dodgers, and I think is kind of maybe better average. I'm going to go with the Red Sox, and I got some numbers to kind of support that. As far as the postseason goes, I mean, you talk about hitting the Dodgers and the pops they've got, but they only hit 218 so far in the postseason, which is really, really low. They're slashing 218, 324, 367 for a 691 OPS, and yet somehow they're here. Those numbers don't really sound well when you're talking about the offense of the Dodgers. And then you think of the left-handed pitching that Boston carries too, and the fact that Sale's definitely going to get some innings, and David Price is going to get some innings. He's getting the start in Game 2. David Price apparently figured out something in a bullpen session during the LCS before he went out for Game 5, and he looked tremendous in Game 5. So you think of those left-handed pitching in Sale and Price at the top there, and then you look at what the Dodgers have done against lefties. Well, in the playoffs, they're hitting 207 against lefties. They're doing bad against left-handed pitching. 207, 292, 293 is what they're slashing for an OPS of 585. And it wasn't that much better during the regular season. Yeah, it was a little bit normal with the longer schedule, but only 240 hitting against lefties. A 324 on-base percentage, which is respective, but they're slugging 409 to 733. That was good enough for 13th best in the majors against lefties for that Dodgers lineup. So I think of how big that Sale and Price are going to have to be at the beginning of the series to really shut down the Dodgers. And of course, kind of backing up a little bit here with what that pitching is going to look like, I almost feel like that Boston's going to do a little bit of what they did in the ALCS. I don't want to see what they do with the Brewers did, because I think it's kind of unique to every team this year, at least unique to this playoffs, not so much to one team this year. But I think Boston's going to try and bullpen their way through the series, but they're going to have to get innings out of Sale and Price to start the series that doesn't slip away from them by the end of it.
And we'll see how the Dodgers bullpen responds after last year. Like you said, the Red Sox have had a good bullpen this postseason, but at the same token, there is some questions heading into that. So it's not a gimme either way when it comes to pitching or hitting. But one of the intangibles is on the field, not letting the ball get past you, not bobbling it, not letting the moment get too big. This season and this playoffs and this series has the potential to have a lot of guys, I feel, overcome to the pressure. It feels like, I think Manny Machado is one of the best players in the league. but he also seems like the type of player when the spotlight is on him, something's going to happen, good or bad. And it's how you respond to it. We see it every single year. There's a moment in a series that changes not only a game, but everything moving forward. I want to know, in your opinion, you already think the Red Sox have a big advantage when it comes to two of the biggest three of the intangibles. But at this point, who's going to have their mind on the game and not make the dumb mistake when it comes to defense?
Well, I mean, you mentioned Machado there, where exactly is his head in the game? In the game, you could look back to that last series against the Brewers with the controversy stepping on Jesus Aguilar's leg or his foot, and that whole thing. And then even a day before that, kind of saying that he's not going to be Charlie Hustle. So you always got to question the attitude of Machado. And, when he's got history with the Red Sox, being a former Baltimore Oriole for so much time before he was traded in the middle of the season, you've seen the Red Sox, dozens of times every year. And, there's that controversy where I think Machado spiked Pedroia in April of last season, and that turned into a whole thing, even with Chris Sale trying to intentionally hit Machado, and I think even threw behind him. I could be a little off on some of those facts, but that happened last year with Machado versus the Red Sox and Machado's attitude in the game. And yeah, which Manny are you going to get? And Yasiel Puig is another one of those players too, where in years past, maybe not more so last couple seasons than this year, where's Puig's head at? He's definitely has a fiery attitude, and you either get a player that's going to play hard and do some great things for you, or a player that's going to make some mental mistakes. So it's really going to be, up to Machado and Puig to really turn themselves on for the series. But the advantage is Puig has played in the World Series, and I don't think Machado's afraid of these big moments. So I think they really are going to step up, regardless of whether they're going to make any mistakes or not. I think they're really going to come up big in some moments in the series, and they almost have to, in a way, to have a big moment between one of them to really try and come off as victors in at least one of the games and help contribute to their team.
Now, with that in mind, I think I really want to get your opinion on this. Do you think we're going to see that moment of this being too big? Like, there's always going to be a mistake. But when I say the moment's going to be too big, you expect that from a team that wasn't supposed to be there. Like for all you college basketball fans, when Loyola was in the Final Four, it almost seemed like, okay, being in the stadium and being on the elevated court and things like that just changed the way they played. Do you think we're going to see the same thing? It's two organizations that they're always striding for the World Series, but both teams were supposed to be here, you could say. Do you think that we're going to see a moment where you're talking about all these distractions, and do you think people are going to remember that this is an opportunity? We don't know if the Dodgers are going to go back. We don't know if Machado's going to sign with the Dodgers. We don't know what's going to happen in the American League if this is the last chance the Red Sox are going to have while the Astros are in the middle of this too. It's like there's so many questions. Do you think one of these teams is going to let the moment get too big for them?
Well, I mean, that's hard to say because you'd like to say maybe some of the younger players might struggle, or one of the first timers, or I mean, even a veteran that's been in the World Series many times or in the postseason a lot of times might have a bad series. It's really just in the moment. It's very situational, and it makes me think of with your question, I think of a guy like Walker Buehler, scheduled to start Game 3 at Los Angeles. I mean, Buehler's looked pretty good in these playoffs, save for maybe that grand slam he gives up to Ronald Acuna. But Buehler looked amazing in Game 7 when the pressure was on in Milwaukee. So if he gets his first World Series start at home in a Game 3, regardless of where the Dodgers are in that series, you got to look to a guy like Buehler. Is he going to have a good game? I think logically, yes, but you never know with a young guy like that that's never pitched on that stage before. So I think about a guy like that, and I think about Sale has never pitched in a World Series before, and with his, the alleged belly button infection and how he has not looked great in some of the starts, the velocity being down. How is Chris Sale going to be affected with that pressure on him to set the tone in the series? How is David Price going to be? I mean, he's pitched in a World Series before with the Rays 10 years ago, but he hasn't really had a lot of postseason success since then. And he just kind of figured out in the last game, is he going to be able to rebound? Machado in a World Series, I'm not entirely worried about. Maybe he hits one home run, and goes like 1 for 16 in that series. If the Dodgers win the World Series and he did enough to get by, then, that's going to be overlooked. Then I think of guys like Cody Bellinger, Max Muncy, guys that haven't really totally performed on that level. I want to say Bellinger had a bad World Series last year, so now a chance to redeem himself. It's guys like that I think of, or like Craig Kimbrell. I don't think has pitched in a World Series, and he's looked shaky at times. In starts or in relief appearances in the regular season and down the stretch here. Of course, he has had some good times in the playoffs as well. So those are the names that just come to mind immediately when you talk about guys that might be a little intimidated by the moment, or weren't ready for prime time, or just kind of just maybe stuck in a situation where it's a bigger stage than maybe they could have handled at the moment.
Who has the better manager?
I think Cora's pushing the right buttons now. Roberts has the experience. Cora's pushing the right buttons. So to give you the quick answer, I'd say Cora. But at the same time, let's not rule out Roberts. And here's an interesting tidbit about these two managers. And I don't know if this is the first time this has ever happened in the World Series, but regardless, it's happening now. Both managers, Dave Roberts and Alex Cora, have both been Dodgers and Red Sox at some point in their playing careers.
I got a question for you, Paul. And it's something that's been bugging me, and you bring it up about these two managers. Do managers matter?
Absolutely. I think Craig Counsell proved that in the NLCS.
That's why I wanted to get into Craig Counsell is arguably going to win the Manager of the Year, and he's pushed all the right buttons and so on and so forth and yada, yada, yada. But we had the news about the Cubs having the new hitting manager hire. And it always comes to me because that's the conversation, right, where it's a deus ex machina for us sports fans, that the manager matters when we want it to matter, or it doesn't matter when we don't want it to matter. But at the end of the day, you're talking about two guys that are going to be representing and leading 25 men that are wearing the jerseys of ravenous sports fans, and sports historians always look more fondly at these two teams. They have to matter, right? Like, it's just lazy narrative for us to say they don't. As much as we say, that they do matter in this particular series, how much is it going to matter? Or does it just come down to Clayton Kershaw or Chris Sale need to be able to go 7 innings and get that dominant back end of that bullpen to close out the game? Like, how much do they matter in this series?
Well, it always goes down. Any manager will tell you when they become a champion that they had the right horses. They had the guys they needed to win. You don't win without the talent and the ability to win. So it's always going to be the players. I mean, the players are always going to dictate what happens, 9 versus 9 in a game. Managers, I think, can do a good job of spotting what's going to give them the best opportunity to win. What's the best hitting lineup? Go with the hot hand. How effectively can I get the right amount of defense and the right amount of offense out of who I start today? Who are my pitchers? What pitchers need to come in? Who's ready? What matchups do I want to play? So yeah, managers absolutely matter, especially in a series. I think the reason why we're talking about this is because managers in a season might not matter as much, because I think anyone that understands the nuances of a 162-game baseball season can really get an idea of how, you just kind of have to play a philosophy. You're not, you can't go game to game in your regular season schedule saying, well, I'm going to put my closer in a high leverage spot, and I'm going to get this guy, and some other starter's going to come in if we go into extra innings, and I got to go there, I got to do this, I got to play this guy here, I got, it's game to game. You just got a philosophy, and you just got to hope that you get the right amount of at bats out of everyone. Everyone's getting playing time, the right pitchers in the right moments, but you're not playing it game to game to win. You're playing it maybe series to series or week to week, or just trying to get playing time for guys through the season because you're your best team out there and try and get the work in. with the playoffs, it's moment to moment. It's matchups. It's how am I going to win this series? Who's healthy? Well, how do I who I got in the bullpen today? Who should I put in before this guy? When should I use this guy? Should I save him for tomorrow? There's a little bit more of decision making on that regard by the managers, where they need to kind of play it game to game in a series versus week to week, or kind of this guy's going to skip a start, or this guy needs a couple of days off because he's a little sore. There's none of that. Guys are playing hurt. Guys are playing because they're available, and the best matchups are going to be put right on the field.
Paul Chivari, sports broadcaster, MLB expert, friend of the show, joining us here on Sports from the Couch here on the Mercado Airwaves Network. Who wins this series, this legendary series, this series that the ESPN and Yahoo Sports and everybody will be talking about 50 years from now, even if it's a 4-game sweep? Who wins and why?
This is a hard one, Mike. I really have I've waffled, I've labored, I've really put a lot of thought into this, and I'm trying to play the matchups. I really don't know what Boston's going to do pitching-wise. All we know at this point is Sale gets game 1, Price gets game 2. We don't know for how long. We don't know how they're going to perform. We know that Kershaw's going game 1. We know that Ryu is going game 2. We know that Buehler's going game 3. And we assume that Rich Hill is going to go game 4, or if not, is probably going to come in for some lefty-lefty matchups. I'm just going to go ahead and say Red Sox in 7.
Whoa!
But I'm really feeling strong for this Dodgers team, and I'll give you a stat here that really kind of is very telling for how this postseason has gone and how this might catch up to Boston. Okay, the Dodgers bullpen ERA for this postseason is 1.51. They've pitched 41 and 2/3 innings. They only gave up 7 earned runs. They have 49 strikeouts in those 41 and 2/3. Only 13 walks. That's a really good bullpen. And that's not a bullpen of guys that are necessarily starters. Yeah, maybe Urias, had some stuff, Maeda, but they're not necessarily named starters. The Dodgers have established that they're going Kershaw, Hill, Ryu, and Buehler is their main 4 to eat up those innings. With Kershaw, of course, in a game 7, you never know where he's going to be if he's not a starter, but he's going to probably get some time in there. That Dodgers bullpen, and I know I was knocking them a week ago, saying, well, who do you have after Baez, Ferguson, and Jansen? You've got some guys in there. Alex Wood had a good series. I want to say Game 5 or Game 7 when he came in against the Brewers. He had a pretty good outing. Maybe it was in Game 6, but Alex Wood had a clean sheet at points in that series against the Brewers. So he can give you some good stuff. Ryan Madsen can give you some good stuff. There's guys in that bullpen for the Dodgers that I think can outlast what the Red Sox are doing, and that really relies on the starters being really effective, going at least 4, 5, 6 innings in all of those starts of the Dodgers. And I think, as far as Boston goes, if they don't get a good start out of Sale and Price and they go down 0-2, that's going to be rough going into L.A. and trying to bullpen your way or depend on Eovaldi or Porcello to get in there for you. And that's assuming that Porcello doesn't see any bullpen time during Games 1 or Game 2 if that gets out of hand quickly. So I think there might be a slight pitching edge in favor of the Dodgers. I think they can ride that out. But at the same time, I think if the Red Sox do what they're capable of doing, I like the Red Sox in this one. They got the home field advantage. I think even if they split in Boston, I like the Red Sox taking 2 out of 3 in L.A., and I think it comes back maybe in a Game 6 and maybe Boston wins. But if not, Boston definitely captures it in 7 because they'll win 1 at Fenway. But regardless, Mike, whoever takes 2 out of 3 in L.A. or more is going to be your champion.
And I'm really interested to see how Boston responds going all the way to the West Coast, and it's gonna be a really good series. There's a lot of underlying stories, and to be honest with you, it sets itself up for a lot of legends to be built. And quite honestly, that's all we're looking for as a sports fan. You can follow Paul on Twitter at Paul Chivari. That's PaulChivari. He is a sports broadcaster, MLB expert, friend of the show, all-around good dude. And I know you're going to enjoy this World Series. I'm so excited that it's a matchup that you really get a chance to sink your teeth into, buddy. And I look forward to talk to you after everything comes down in what hopefully will either be a Game 7 or we'll know who the World Series champion is, buddy. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, no problem, Mike. One quick tidbit before I go is when you think of this World Series, think of that 2012 trade, the Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford and Josh Beckett, and $250 million moved around in that trade back then. And even though it probably doesn't factor into this, I'm sure there's a storyline that would have some sort of thread to get into this game. Think about that one, even if it doesn't have anything to do with that series. These are two big teams and big colossal giants and titans going against each other. And may the best team win. And maybe we have a good series, and hopefully the Red Sox win in 7, so I can sound like I know what I'm talking about.
That, or if you win the Powerball or Mega Millions, we won't be seeing you in the next episode. We know how it is, Paul. We know what we mean to you.
Well, thank you for having me, Mike.
You got it, buddy. Be good.
You too. Thank you.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the office, I get to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing,
Hey,
buddy?
sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on.
Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
Alrighty, friends, before we get out of here and close up shop here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network, I just want to talk a little bit about what happened over on Monday Night Raw. So the character Roman Reigns, for all you WWE fans or wrestling fans, goes by the name, his real name is Joe Anoa'i, part of that famous family by The Rock, the Usos, so on and so forth. He came out and talked about relinquishing the Universal Championship. That is for all you who don't watch wrestling, that is the main title that they use for the heavyweights and the main characters on Monday Night Raw, their Monday show, their flagship show on USA. SmackDown has the WWE Championship that's going to be moved to SmackDown as of right now. But Roman Reigns came out and said that he will be relinquishing the title because he's battling leukemia again, which he had apparently about 11 years ago. So, cancer has recently hit a close family member of ours that, their sister is going through it again. And, cancer is a son of a gun. There's a lot of bad things I wish I could say, but, due to the fact that kids may be listening to it, I'm trying to be better about it. But it was a sad story. It's a sobering story. Very young man. Obviously, when you think of these professional wrestlers, these athletes, anybody, and we've seen it in the NFL recently with, guys coming back from their own cancer, scare. When you see it, it scares you because these are guys and gals who are in their peak of their life, right? They're athletic, they're strong, they're what we think of when we think of, they look like superheroes, and both sports entertainers, professional athletes, these actors and actresses, and when these news hits us, it seems to hit us harder because it's a realization that the cloak, the veil is broken, and you realize that we're all just human, and child, elder person, whether you're a child, an elder, middle age, or just, in your late 20s, anything can get us, so you really just need it. And what we saw on that promo from Roman Reigns was strength, love, and appreciation and confidence that he can overcome that, any of us can overcome that. So if there was one thing that came from that sobering, horrific moment, was that you can come out the other end. You got to just fight. And with people around you that love you and a great support system, it's possible. So we'll be keeping our eye on it, and obviously we'll be sending our love and support, and we'll be working on something over at Outreach Radio Chicago and around the Mercado Airwaves network personally to maybe do something with an organization, and not just with cancer, but be a little bit more involved, because obviously we do that at Outreach, but I would like to be a little bit more involved with all the other shows we have here on the network. So I highly suggest go on their YouTube channel and check out the speech. It's been retweeted and shared by all the different outlets, mainstream media, it's mainstream sports media. So check it out, guys. But that'll do it for us here on this episode of Sports from the Couch. Thank you so much for joining us. It means the world to us. Thank you. It really does mean the world that you take a few minutes of your busy day, of your busy week, whenever you get the chance to listen to my crazy budgets talk about what we love, and that's sports and whatever else we're talking about over at the Mercado Airwaves Network. Thank you so much for always supporting us. You can follow me on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. You can download all our interviews ad-free and before anybody else with athletes and celebrities. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Please do us a huge favor, like, rate, review, and share us anywhere you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. And a huge thank you to Munch Art Design for powering us here at the Mercado Airwaves Network. Enjoy all the games. Enjoy the World Series. Enjoy your week of football. We'll see you on the next episode of Sports from the Couch here on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.